to NASCAR DFS with the Sports Chief. I'm AustYn. Glad to be back for another show. Glad that NASCAR is finally returning after a 2-month hiatus. I believe the last video we did was on March 7th. But as you can see here, I've been doing some eBay shopping, so I got me a DJ hat. But yeah, we're really excited for Darlington Raceway. It's going to be run on Sunday and on May the 17th, and we're going to have 7 NASCAR races in 11 days. So that's going to be pretty exciting. Going to be doing a lot of DraftKings stuff. I'll try to bring you videos at least for the Sunday races. We're still working on the schedule as far as what we're going to do in terms of the Wednesday races. May do some articles, things like that. In terms of strategy for this race, it's going to be totally different than anything we've ever had to face. There's no qualifying, of course. Qualifying was done by random draw this week on NASCAR Race Hub. Brad Keselowski happened to get the pole. The way it was set up, 1 through 12 got to draw, and then it split up in like 12 position increments after that, I believe so. Anyway, I know 1 through 12 was for sure what they did, depending on points. A lot has changed even in the 2 months in terms of who's racing. We have Matt Kenseth in the 42 car now. Tommy Baldwin Racing is making a comeback in the number 7 car with Josh Palicki, so that's pretty cool. Rick Ware Racing's making some purchases, I believe, or at least rumored to. So, I mean, those are small things. Well, the 42 car is definitely not a small thing, but the other things are pretty cool to see. So without having practice, without having qualifying, you really do not know what cars are going to be the fastest. One thing that I'm going to be relying upon pretty heavily is horsepower in terms of the engine programs that the team has. So a lot of times, of course, if you have more money to generate into an engine program, you're going to have the best equipment. And I think the equipment's going to prevail more so than driver talent, as bad as I hate to say it, at Darlington. It's going to be different. Also, I'm going to be looking at past races. So if Darlington's a track that it's like a 1.3 something odd mile track. It's I've been there, and for those of you who haven't, it's a great spectacle to see. It's pretty awesome. Racing's really exciting. They get up against the wall, and you go in that corner really quick, and it's a lot of throttle control. And it's going to be exciting to see on Sunday, just to see how hard they take it, because the Xfinity race will not be ran there. It'll be a totally green track, which is pretty new to the sport. It's going to be the Real Heroes 400 is the name of the race. The last time Darlington has hosted a 400-mile race, Jimmy Johnson actually won it in 2004. Ryan Newman finished, I believe, like 3rd. Harvick was in the top 10. Kurt Busch was in the top 10. So you've got some of those guys that were there running 293 laps. It was Carolina Dodge Dealers 400 in 04. So Darlington is no stranger to the 400-mile events, where we are used to the Southern 500. So does that give them an edge? I mean, that's been so long ago. The cars are so different, but that's just a pretty cool stat to see. Strategy that I'm going with will definitely be a tournament strategy. I think it's safe to go cash game, of course. That, of course, is your less aggressive strategy in DraftKings and on DFS. It's a situation where we've been out of it for 2 months, and I'm just ready to get at it and try to be a little aggressive. That's probably the route I'm going to go with. I think the starting positions lead for a lot of cash game opportunities, so I think a lot of people will take advantage of that. So let's go ahead and get started and see what DraftKings has to offer. So going on over here, we have Kyle Busch as our most expensive driver. No shock there at 11.8. Starting in 4th position. Kevin Harvick starting in 6th at 11.5. Denny Hamlin starting in 10th at 11.1. Martin Truex Jr. 10.8 starting in 15th. Brad Keselowski on the pole, 10.4. And Joey Logano starting in 9th at 10.1. So, looking at these guys, you have 6 10K drivers, all top-notch drivers. One driver that I was looking to, since the schedule was released around April 30th or so for the May 17th event, I really was looking. I'm like, man, Denny Hamlin, I really hope he gets a good starting spot because I knew they were going to do that draw thing, and he is starting in 10th spot. I really like Denny Hamlin. His career at this track, he's got 2 wins, 11 top 10s, 14 starts, average finish of 7.8. And if you look on Racing Reference, which is one thing that I tend to look at, if you look at average finishes, you're either really good at this track or you just don't have it. And he's one of those guys that definitely has this track down pat. Martin Truex in 15th. So he is not in the top 12 in points. He is a Joe Gibbs Racing driver, former champion, and Truex is starting in 15th. Now, like I said, cash game is going to be pretty easy to go with him, and I'm still going to go with Truex because Martin Truex actually has a win here, 6 top 10s and 14 starts, and has 11.6 average finish. Therefore, I'm going with Martin Truex and experience. Now, I'm going to pick some experienced guys here. That's one thing that I think bodes well for all drivers in the field, all the veteran drivers, so to speak. So, going with Martin Truex Jr., do I think he can win the race? Of course. He's in a Joe Gibbs Racing engine. He's going to be a threat. So it's just going to be interesting to see how passing goes. I know they're going to have a competition caution on lap 30. So that's one thing, to keep in mind. They're going to slow him down at lap 30, come in, do pit stops. As far as I know, the pit crew will be in full force. I think they're allowed to have 2 or 3 other crew members. See, it's really, you have to look really deep into this stuff. It's going to affect everything, the way this pandemic is shaping NASCAR in terms of the amount of people in garages. Drivers normally talk with each other for the race. They have nothing to go off of, no data other than past data. So that's going to be interesting. So I'm going with Martin Truex Jr. Scrolling on down here like I typically do. So I'm going to go ahead and go down to the 7.5 and below. So Matt Dibenedetto down. And of course, if you look down here towards the bottom, one guy I did mention was Josh Palicki in that 7 car, driving like Gravely Mowers engine for Tommy Baldwin Racing. That's pretty cool. And I actually did think about picking him, but there's not a lot to go off of for him. So I'm not going to go that route. One guy that's really cheap is Michael McDowell. And the reason why Michael McDowell is so cheap is because he normally qualifies really well. Well, the guy's starting in 31st, so that's an option you can go with. His history is not so great at Darlington, but you can look at him. Ty Dillon in 33rd, I think he'll be an option people go with. His average finish is, forgive me if I'm wrong, but it's around like 18th. So that's going to be interesting to look at. John Hunter Nemechek in 34th. Daniel Suarez in 37th. The Gaunt Brothers car I don't think is as good as we like to think it is. I know I went with him, or was thinking about going with him earlier on in the year, and he kind of let me down quite a bit. So one guy that I am going to go with, stopping here at Dibenedetto, I'm going to go with Tyler Redick. Tyler Redick is starting in 29th, and I feel like every week that I do these videos, I go with Tyler Redick because I really do believe in his talent. I think he's a future star in the sport. Driving for Richard Childress Racing. Interesting thing to note about Tyler Redick, his average finish here is 7th in the Xfinity Series. So he always competes at this track. His first start was not that great, but then he went on with Junior Motorsports and then RCR. I'm trying to think. He might have been in Chip Ganassi his first start. He didn't get that great of a finish, but he finished 2nd and 3rd in the Junior Motorsports and RCR engines. So I think this track fits his style very well. He's a dirt racer. He runs things pretty ragged as far as on the track. He puts it all out there. So, and hey, this was another weird thing that I noticed. In 2004, in that 400-mile race, Richard Childress Racing, of course, had Kevin Harvick. They had another driver by the name of Robbie Gordon. Robbie Gordon started in 29th that day and finished 4th. And that 8 car is pretty much the equivalent of the 31 car back then. So that's, hey, if Tyler Reddick can get a 4th place finish, man, that'd be awesome. So that would be a win, big swing, and not a swing and a miss, a swing and a home run, I guess. Be a home run swing. So there you go. Anyway, that's pretty much a useless fact, but it's just interesting. So we have $8,000 to spend. Scrolling up here. To the top. So this is a situation where I was really struggling in going, and that was whether I should choose Chris Buescher or Christopher Bell. So I'm already going to pick guys in this range. I'm just going to go ahead and let it be known. Christopher Buescher, or Chris Buescher, I don't know why I'm calling Christopher Buescher, but Chris Buescher started in 24th spot. His average finish is 14.8. Now keep in mind he drove for JTG Daugherty as well as Front Row Motorsports in those starts, and I believe it was 4. He hasn't gotten a top 10, but his 14.8 average finish is very good. And now he's in a Roush Fenway ride, and don't get me wrong, Chris Buescher was actually performing pretty well this year. And I think he kind of has a calmer way of driving, and I think that it's going to benefit him pretty well in this race. So I'm going to go with Chris Buescher at $7,000, help save us some money, and give us a little cushion there. So looking forward to picking Chris Buescher there. If he gets me like 15th, that's a great finish for me. And, I'm not telling you not to pick Christopher Bell because I think that 28th spot is really good. And Matt Dibenedetto actually finished in the top 10 in that Levi Family Racing 95 last year. So I think the speed is there. The thing that worries me is the Cup car and the experience. And I know, hey, man, you picked Tyler Redick. I do think Tyler Redick is a little different driver and had a little bit more momentum going into this event than Christopher Bell. And Bell has never really performed well at Darlington. He's just been okay. He qualifies well, and then he doesn't really compete. Redick was a guy that led a lot of laps in the Xfinity Series with him. So I think running that wall will help, but I just don't know if Christopher Bell's – I don't know if that car is as good as it should be. But I don't think – I was either going to go Buescher or Bell. Buescher was definitely the tournament strategy choice, being that he's starting 4 positions ahead, but I think Buescher's just a little better at this track. Again, we have no practice to go off of, and I think lineups are going to look pretty different. And, hey, Ryan Newman is starting in 21st. I cannot believe Ryan Newman is back in a race car. It's just awesome that he's back and he's running for the 6 car at Roush, and I just don't know how Ryan's going to be. And I do believe that he's okay, and I believe he'll be all right. But those kind of wrecks, and he doesn't remember it, they do take a toll on you. So I don't know. We'll see. In terms of past histories, drivers that are in big wrecks like that. Gosh, I can't really remember one that was that bad though. That didn't end in a terrible result. But that's an interesting price point for sure. So we could look at Ryan Newman, and there may be some people that choose him. And I'm just going to go ahead and pick my really low price guy. So this will kind of tip my hand as to what I'm going to do. I'm going to go with John Hunter Nemechek starting in 34th in the Skag Mowers Ford. Ty Dillon and John Hunter Nemechek will probably be the choices mixed between, but that 34th spot, I think Nemechek's definitely a top 28 or 25 car. So if he can get me 6 or 7 spots, that would be well worth it. Again, his history is not that great at this track, but I do believe that he'll perform pretty well in this event. So yeah, going with John Hunter Nemechek. So that leaves me with $9,500 to spend. And yes, I'm going to go with another big gun. I'm going with Denny Hamlin starting at 10th. I think it's too difficult to pass up. So a lot of people are going to go with Erik Jones. Now, Erik Jones, you cannot deny that Erik Jones is one of the best Darlington drivers out there. He won the Southern 500 last year. He's got 3 top 10s and 3 starts. His average finish is 4.7. So you're saying, Austin, why are you not going with Erik Jones? That's a good question. But I do think that Denny Hamlin is going to be – he's my choice to win the race. Denny is a really good Darlington race car driver, and I really like Denny in this spot, starting in 10th. The odds of him getting a top 5 are relatively high. And I like Joe Gibbs going into it. And, Erik Jones, yeah, he's a Joe Gibbs driver too, but I'm going with experience over youth. And hopefully Denny Hamlin can pull through for us. So, if you went with Erik Jones, you could go with Chase Elliott, which Chase is just okay here. He's not great. Ryan Blaney is actually remarkably, I don't want to say remarkably bad, but he's not very good at Darlington if you look at his past history. Joey Logano is just okay as well. It's pretty interesting. You look at a lot of this stuff. Bowman, William Byron's not got enough to really look at, but he's just okay too. Kurt Busch, 22nd. That's interesting. Like if you went with Kurt Busch here, you could go Kurt and then Brad, which is not a bad option, truthfully. But I'm going with Denny Hamlin because I think that he'll be up front. Him and Truex will be battling for it. And scrolling on down here, this is going to be my wild choice. And I'm hoping not a lot of people do this. You see Matt Kenseth right there in 12th, and I keep reading things like, oh, Matt Kenseth, he'll be great in that 42 car. I think Kyle Larson was uber talented. That's my opinion. Kyle Larson is one of the best drivers in the NASCAR circuit. Humpy Wheeler even said it. When the scandal happened, he's like, Kyle will be back. It'll just be a matter of time. He's too talented. NASCAR really needs him in the Cup Series. So we'll see how that all shakes out. We have no idea. That's predicting things that are a little out of our control. But Matt Kenseth starting in 12th, I don't think it's fair for Matt really to be getting that spot. That's my personal opinion. Matt hasn't put any laps in that ride, and I don't think Matt will perform well. Matt was in that 6th car for Trevor Bayne. They pulled Trevor out and put him in, and he didn't perform any better than Trevor did. But Ryan Newman actually rose to the occasion and did pretty well in that ride. So I think Matt Kenseth a lot past his prime, sorry. And I'm not a Matt Kenseth hater or anything, but it's kind of like Jimmy Johnson. You hit a wall, and I think it's a little crazy to think that Matt Kenseth is going to perform well. So I'm not going with Matt Kenseth. My suggestion is don't go with Matt Kenseth. But hey, if you go with him, go with your gut. That's what a lot of this is because we don't have a lot to go off of. And I didn't even look to see what Matt Kenseth has done. I should have, as far as statistic-wise, in the past, but I didn't plan on picking him, so that's why I didn't really research it. But this is my guy that I'm going with. I'm going with Matt Dibenedetto, starting in 3rd. Yeah, going with Matt Dibenedetto starting in 3rd because I think Matt will actually be a top 5 finisher this week. I really like his odds in the Penske engines. The 21 car has looked pretty quick all year. He finished 8th last year in the Levine family racing car, like I mentioned earlier. Really like Matty D in this spot. I'm thinking this is a big pick for me. I think he'll get by Bowman, and he may even get by Brad. He's a good option to me, and I think that he's a solid top 10. I may lose a little bit of points there, but that's why I've got John Hunter and Chris Buescher and Tyler Redick there in those spots to help save me and pull me out of there. And so there you have it. Definitely a different kind of lineup for me, I feel like. But I'm going with Martin Truex starting in 15th at 10-8. Excuse me. Denny Hamlin's more expensive. So 11-1, Denny Hamlin starting in 10th. Martin Truex, 10-8, starting in 15th. Take a little while. I'll scroll down here to get to Matt Dibenedetto at 7-5. Tyler Redick, 7-2. Chris Buescher, 7,000. And rounding out the Sports Chiefs lineup, we will go with John Hunter Nemechek. So take a good look at it. We had $500 left over. Not really sure what the whole check mark beside the starting position is. I guess they're just affirming that. I may have to keep you posted on that one if it changes anything, but I'm not really sure why that's there. So anyway, that's what we're going with. Hope you enjoyed our video. Really excited. Again, I'll be trying to play a lot of NASCAR coming up. The Xfinity and Truck Series are going to be running pretty much every day of the week. Got a lot of research to do, and I have to admit, it's pretty weird doing a lot of this because I'm so used to, in the past, going to Daytona, getting warmed up every week, week in and week out, grinding and grinding. Well, we've had 2 months to sit here and twiddle our thumbs. And now we're just going to Darlington, and then we're going to Charlotte. So Darlington's a pretty rough track to pick. I feel pretty good about our lineup this week. So if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, respond to us with the video down below. Also, follow us on Twitter at TheSportsChief, on Instagram as well. We are a group of friends that are in the North Carolina area. Hence my great Smoky Mountain shirt and my Dale Jarrett hat, Hickory native. So we're based around the Charlotte area, and we do a little bit of everything. We do wrestling, entertainment, pretty much anything. If you have a request for us to do something, we may look into it, and then, hey, we may even talk about it. So big things coming with the Sports Chief. Very excited to do this NASCAR stuff, and I look forward to being with you in the coming days. So have a good race weekend, and pull them belts tight, and let's watch some NASCAR.